mine yesterday, damn it. Okay. Welcome back. It's so good to see you. Do you have anything in particular that you want to talk about today? Because I don't, but also I have learned this much from your social media recently. Are you living in Kansas City?
Yes.
Okay. I guess I didn't realize you were that close. Or if you did, I had forgotten.
Where are you at?
I'm in Oklahoma City.
Oh, okay, yeah, not that far.
Yeah. We do you know who Caleb Heron is?
Mm-mm. Oh, Caleb Heron, the comedian,
Yes.
yes. Yes, I
Yeah, yeah,
do.
yeah. So we went to see him for his KC Tenants benefit in October.
Oh,
And
cool.
it was such a good show. And we want to try to go to that benefit every year now. But it was so funny because he had us like text the tenant guy. Everybody in the audience texted the tenant guy from their seat. So it was so funny. Like, you have to meet with the tenants union. It was so fun. But anyway, I love Caleb. So whenever I heard you say Kansas City, I was like, oh my God, I didn't even realize that's where you live. But where are you from?
Well, I think the confusing I'm actually from Iowa. I've lived a lot of different places, like, all over the world, but I lived in San Diego for 5 years, and that's where I got into the work that I do now, so I think people have, like obviously, it makes more sense for California, right? Like, it was a lot easier there, I could host retreats, etcetera, and that's where all of my microdosing companies that I work with are, but now I'm in Kansas City because I wanted to be closer to my mom, a little bit closer to, like, my original home.
Closer to Iowa, you mean?
Yeah, mhm.
Okay. Well, so why not Iowa? What does Kansas City do for you?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm from a small town. I guess I won't say it here because I don't wanna, like, publicly shit
Sure.
on it, but,
Sure.
it's just not growing, and it hasn't grown since I was a child. I'm really close to my kindergarten teacher, actually, and,
Oh.
she was talking to me, and she's like, "I'm glad you didn't move back here because there's nothing here for you." Like, she's lived there basically her whole life, and she's like, it doesn't make sense for young people to be here because the city officials aren't doing things to help the city grow. So, I am almost completely remote. Obviously, I do host retreats and then I go different places and people come to me. But, the work that I do consulting with microdosing and guiding people through that, it's all, virtual. Like I have a call after this call, right? And we're just going to meet on Zoom. So it's fine. I don't need to be in any one place. But when I think about I wanna be in a city where I can go to a show. I wanna be in a ci like, I just got to go to see Rufus Du Sol, like, a couple nights ago at the Morton Amphitheater, like, I can't do that in my small town in Iowa, and, I wanna have more different kinds of food, and we have a really good international
Yeah.
airport here, so it just makes more sense,
It's
like,
better for
I
your
can take care
spirit.
of Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I love
Yeah.
my mom, I do wanna be closer to her, but, like, we do not need to live together,
That close,
few
yeah.
minutes apart. A
I
few
feel
hours
that.
is good.
Yeah, yeah. Then no one's showing up unannounced or unexpected, and that's a beautiful thing. Okay, well, that makes perfect sense, and do you feel like Kansas City is booming? Like, it seems like there's a lot going on there.
Yeah, I mean, so it's definitely what I like about Kansas City that I didn't feel like I had in San Diego. Like, you know, this is probably on me too. I didn't really necessarily look at all the different places I could have volunteered or gotten involved, but I didn't feel like when I would, volunteer for things or go to different like fundraisers or whatever that I was really like connected to the community. It just felt a little bit too big to really feel connected. But, here in Kansas City, like, I do really feel that. I think the organization that I work with a lot, Regulars Big Sisters, does a really good job of that, of saying, like, this is a kid from Raytown who had a big brother and now he goes to Mizzou and, like, he's on a track to get his degree in business. Like, it just feels
Yeah.
more real. So I like that it feels small enough to be actually connected to the community, but it's big enough that, like, we get all the big acts. Like we get the big shows and the Broadway shows and the bands and we have really good food opportunities and I don't actually it's probably going to ruffle some feathers. I don't care about football. I mean, Chiefs
Yeah,
win,
yeah,
Chiefs
yeah.
could not care less. But, it does attract like the World Cup is in Kansas City. And so that's just started and stuff. So, yeah, I mean there's definitely a lot more than my small town in Iowa, but I feel more like grounded than I did when I was in California.
That makes perfect sense to me, yeah. And so, okay, then you kinda touched on the other thing I was like curious about because I've seen you posting about some of the stuff you've been doing.
Mhm.
My world's been a little crazy the last couple weeks, so I didn't like grasp onto most of it, but I remember like wanting to ask you like what is this stuff that you're doing? So are you mostly like the organizations that you're talking about, or is that like volunteer work that you do?
Yeah, you mean, oh, my Kansas City series, like 100 days of like getting the most out of Kansas City?
No, because that seemed like just like a personal mission, but more like Big Brother, Big Sister type stuff.
Yeah, I volunteer. I'm on one of their boards. Yep.
Okay.
I volunteer at a lot of different other events. So I just volunteered on Monday at a golf tournament that they had.
Yes.
Well, so I ran a nonprofit when I was in LA. Oh, I was in San Diego, but I would drive to LA. And I learned a lot about the nonprofit world. Specifically, nonprofits, there's different degrees of transparency, but a lot of the organizations we give money to, it's actually a lot of the money is going towards things like advertising. So one of the best known breast cancer organizations, they get a lot of money, but they're just raising quote unquote awareness. They're spending a lot of money on advertising. They're not reinvesting those dollars into breast cancer research or support for breast cancer survivors or people currently undergoing like breast cancer treatment. And so when I learned that, it just made me feel really gross. Um,
Yes.
and it's like, well, why would I give you more money to like put a cute little pink pin out there? Like, I know about breast cancer. We all know
Thank
about breast cancer
you.
now. We don't need
Yes.
more awareness. And so, what I really like about it just opened my eyes to what's really going on in nonprofit. And so, what I like about Big Brother, Big Sisters is that they're 100% accountable down to the penny with all the money that they receive, and that most of the money actually goes into making matches, which is what the mission is all about. It's
Nice.
about supporting the children. And it made me feel integrous. Like, integrity is one of my core values. If I feel like I'm out of integrity, I just, like, can't live with
Mhm.
it. And so to know
Mhm.
that I'm giving time and money and energy to an organization that is actually doing what they say they do makes me feel good.
Yeah. Is that nationwide? That
Well,
they
every branch is different, like, not every
Okay.
branch can be run the same. This is particularly BBBSKC, so, I couldn't say, like, BBBS or Chicago or whatever if they're all doing the same
Okay.
thing. But when
I'm
I
glad I
moved here,
asked.
I reached out to 3 different organizations that people had told me about, and because I like to be able to not that, there's one that's better than the other, but I like to be able to, like, focus. If I feel like my energy is all over the place, like, that's not good for me. So I wanted to just, like, find an organization that I loved and commit, to, give me my time and energy there. And so I won't wanna say I interviewed, but I did go talk to 3 different organizations, and 2 of them just felt so like it just felt really loosey-goosey, like, "Well, what do you wanna do?" Or like, "Well, how could you help us?" And I'm like, I don't I came here, like, hoping that you would tell me what you needed and I would go do it,
Right, like, where am I best suited for you? Like, what?
and I definitely understand the process of asking me questions. What do I actually like? What could I be good at? Like, what are my
Sure.
strengths? I was totally understood that, but after I shared all that, they kind of were like, "Well, how do you wanna serve our organization?" Versus the woman I met with, Katie Lord, shout out Katie, is amazing. I actually thought she ran Big Brothers Big Sisters here. Turns out she's, like, head of marketing not marketing, she's head of, like,
Like, the
donor whatever.
volunteers or whatever?
Anyway, so she was like, "Okay, well, based on what you told me, I think that you would be great at these 2 things. Like, do you wanna meet with both of these boards and see which one you would like better?" And she set up interviews with me to interview for the specific board she thought I would be good at. And it's like they have very clear it was just so much more organized. And like for me, I run my entire life. I run my business. Like I am single. Like I take care of everything in my life. I don't want to go to an organization and have to create my own role. Like I want to do something like in dating, right? I want a guy to show up at my house, know where the heck we're going, have a plan. If he wants to order for me, that's great too. I don't want to have to do one more thing in my mind. So to show up for an organization that's already like running and is just telling me, go do this, that's my dream.
Yes, yeah. Decision fatigue is real. Like, I know that, like, most of us are kinda struggling with that right now, where it's like, "Can somebody just take one of these things out of my brain and take care of it, please?"
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of like that's a big ask for a volunteer. It's like now you figure out what you're supposed to be doing. Like that's not how this works.
Yeah, yeah, I could see that. Well, but you're bringing up a good point because I don't know that we really oftentimes have expectations around experiences like that. Like, it's
Mm,
good that you even thought, "Oh, this isn't meeting my expectation in this way," because I and people I know, I think, would probably walk away from something like that, maybe not feeling satisfied with how it went, but not being able to identify why, and, like,
mhm.
feeling the right thing whenever you're in the right opportunity, I think is important too. So that's cool that, I mean, you've made it's a thinking point for sure. Now, we kind of as an audience will be like, "Oh yeah, that is something to think." Some people don't care. Like, tell me, ask my opinion. Great, but I think you should know what your preference is before you enter a situation like that. So I certainly feel more aware now. I didn't even think about that. That's really cool. So
I mean,
what is this getting them? How long have you been in Kansas City now?
I've technically been here a year,
Okay.
but like I said online, I just felt like for a long time I was using Kansas City as like a landing pad because I do travel so much for work. So like I would go do something and then come back and just like decompress and work on my computer and be with my animals, but I wasn't like experiencing Kansas City in the same way that I experienced San Diego.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. So you were just, like, coming home and staying home. You weren't doing anything.
No, I mean I do like I have some great friends here. But even then, we're at the stage like I don't really like quote unquote go out anymore, right? Like our idea of fun times, like we go to happy hour at a restaurant and then get dinner. Like it's just I'm in a different phase of my life. And in San Diego, I'll also say like somewhere like that where the weather is very constant, it's just easier to be outside and kind of experience more. But I also, realized I couldn't say Kansas City wasn't for me if I never really gave it a fair shot either.
Ah. So how intentional are you being in this quest that you're on? Like, do you have it planned, like, mapped out, or are you just kind of making more attempts at experiencing Kansas City?
Yeah, so in my experiment, it's documenting something like a specific activity that A, I have never done, or B, I have done. And it's something that adds a lot of like richness to my life in Kansas City. And I wanted to also share it because not that I have the largest following in the world, but I do have a public platform. And if I say, like for instance, one of the days I talked about how once a week I walk to this little bakery where they make sourdough. And it's like a great experience for me. I do it every single week. It really like adds a lot of joy to my life. If one person goes and frequents that small business, like I'm all about win-win, like I don't believe anyone can win if someone has to cut you down to get ahead. Like I believe in collaboration and collectivism, oneness. And so if I could shout out that small business and someone goes checks it out, like that makes me happy. And I'm taking well, the great thing is I knew once I started talking about this, people would be giving me suggestions like, oh, you got to try this restaurant. And so some of the things just naturally happened, right? Like one of my very first ones, I got invited to go to the KC sporting soccer game. And that was
Oh.
like an easy, like, okay, like, of course I'm going to document this because what a cool opportunity. Or I got tickets to Rufus, like I said. And so that's one of the days that I documented, like, I've never been to Morton Amphitheater and I'm going to see one of my favorite bands. And so some of it has just happened naturally. I really believe like when you set an intention for something, like the universe wants to respond to you. And so I haven't had any problems like struggling to find quote unquote things to do. I also have this is my San Diego one. But I have a Kansas City one too. It's like a little cafe passport. So it has all these coffee shops in it. And so that's one thing I'm gonna do if I feel like I don't know what to do that day. I'm gonna go try a new coffee shop and like talk about it.
Yeah, so you are doing something every day?
Every day that I'm here, so I do travel
Okay,
a lot.
okay.
Or I kinda cheated the other day, on Wednesday because I had 3 things. I,
Uh,
got my makeup professionally done by a new artist in Kansas City, and then I went and got photos taken for my brand, and then I went to see Rufus. It was a very full day, but I was like, "These are 3 distinct experiences, so I'm gonna cheat and call them each a different day." But then it was kinda nice because yesterday I mean, I've been spent. I've had a really busy few weeks. So yesterday I was like, "Well, I'm taking the day off of my experiment."
nice. Not Hey, and I think it counts. I think it counts 100%. That Okay, so I've been in this space for a couple of years where I don't do a lot and I want to do much more. but I haven't felt motivated to do things on my own because my friends that didn't just, fucking leave, like when they, when you have a spiritual awakening and everyone just fucking leaves, like, the universe just has a way of clearing what's not meant for you, and it fucking did. But my friends who are still here, they're fucking busy. Like, they are not living the entrepreneur life. Not that I'm not busy, but like I have a little more flexibility than they do. And I'm always like, yeah, I want to do more, but I can't think of anything to do. But you're giving me really good like ideas over what I it doesn't have to, and I don't necessarily need to document it, but like maybe I should. Maybe it would fucking inspire me more, Like, well, cuz I was thinking this is interesting to me that this is the very first thought I had was like, I don't think anyone would care what I was saying about that. Like I don't think anyone wants to hear me talk about the things I'm doing. And I think that's a rude thing to say to myself. So
I think it is not maybe the most loving thing to say to yourself, but I also like I kind of had that same thought too of like, who cares what I'm doing in Kansas City? But I look at TikTok and it's like people care about the most, and to me, inane things.
uh-huh.
Like, and I think it's really beautiful the way you framed it of like, hey, you've been through a really like probably top traumatic thing that can happen to a person, right? Recently. And to be able to say, like, I want to like get some of that spark back. I want to engage more with my environment, my community. And like this is what I'm doing. I think a lot of people I know for most people after they go through something really traumatic that the tendency is to like withdraw. Um
Mm-hmm.
I had a client who lost her brother, and her romantic relationship imploded because the guy could not show up for her and like basically ghosted her because he didn't know how to talk about the fact that her brother died. And then
Yes.
she just was like, well, then I can't trust people to be there for me because my
Mm-hmm.
boyfriend left me. Right. So if the tendency is to withdraw, like you're making the conscious choice to do the opposite. And even if you just do
Yeah.
it for yourself, like having solo experiences, I think they're so awesome and they open up so many like new avenues and you meet people you never would have met if you had been like in your little bubble with someone. So it's just a different experience.
Yeah, that's a good point, but you're also scaring me because I'm afraid of people. So I have to not get intimidated by meeting new people. But you're right. That actually is something I identified really early on in this particular grief process was I don't need therapists. I need to get the fuck out of my environment sometimes, like, and I'm saying that way for people to hear me. I mean, it's not like this is the first time I've said it on the show, but the thing is that I think one of the reasons people get so uncomfortable when we talk about loss is because they think that there's this thing that they're supposed to say or do that's perfect. And I'm like, no, actually, I have all the tools in the world and the people that like I need consultation with, I got that locked down. Listening, but also just like being available for normal mundane stuff to get me outside of that is also a beautiful thing. But I had to learn that too. I had to learn what to ask for. And grief is so isolating, I think, no matter what. For one, because you do encounter those people that are so fucking uncomfortable with it. But also, I think that there's just this tendency to believe, which there's so much truth in this, but that nobody else could possibly understand what you're experiencing. And sure, nobody else has your loss because like Jake only had one mom, one brother, one sister. You know what I'm saying? Like we are individual in what we're experiencing, but if you lean into that, you lose the community that you also have. So I've tried to be very cognizant of that. And it's been it's been a process to not push people away because that's my natural tendency. And that's the story I wrote a long time ago is that it's not safe to share loss with people. I started that story at 15 when my dad died. So I'm trying really hard, but I think maybe until this conversation, I think maybe I forgot how much I do crave just going out outside of the house and just having a fun little experience. And I do have one friend that's been very good about like, let's go to this new coffee shop. Let's go to the, just cute little thing. Like my birthday's next week. And so she wanted to escape a little bit too. We're literally going to an Airbnb like 30 minutes from our houses, but that's on an acreage and it's got like a tennis court, a pool, this cute little place to walk around. We're going to play pickleball, not tennis, but still like 30 minutes. So there's no real travel and we're just going to eat like charcuterie shit. We're just being cute, but that like just getting out of the house to do little whimsical things really makes my heart very happy. So you're right. When you want to see the world a certain way, that is what you'll see it. And so I want to go see more things. So I think this would be a really good challenge for me. And if I were documenting it, then I would stay true to the course too. So, and you're right. I am very surprised sometimes at what videos will get my attention and I will just fucking watch the shit out of it. I'll be like, is it weird that I'm watching, like, this, like, fucking high schooler do her makeup right now? Because 'Cause I'm into it.
Oh, well, happy almost birthday, happy early birthday. And, I did just want to say, I didn't mean to scare you, but I talk a lot. So I go talk to new people. If you didn't want to talk to people, like, I'm sure it would be fine and no one would be like up in your bubble.
You're not shy at all?
No.
Oh my god, I'm so shy. I can
I will
do
talk to
this
all.
shit all day, but, like, you put me in a room with people like, well, if someone approached me and had a conversation about spirituality or emotions, we don't have to know each other. I can get into that all day, every day. Anybody, just come to me and talk. But, like, going and, like, small talk and introducing and just, like, learning about people scares the shit out of me.
Aw, well, maybe a good muscle to flex then?
Right. Ooh. Bleh. We'll see, we'll see. I don't wanna put any pressure on myself because then I'll never do it. Unless I'm, like, challenging myself. If I set a challenge, then I'll make myself, but I don't know. I don't know if I have the capacity for that. We'll have to see. Well, that sounds really exciting. So, one of the things that I've been doing, um, as, like, having, like, recurrent guests is kinda asking what what have you like, what are the major things you've been learning lately, like, about yourself, about how you're interfacing in the world? Like, like, what's the astrology doing to you? Whatever it is, like, how are you, like, evolving lately? What you been going through?
Ooh, okay. I think a big one for me in my business is I think I've changed a lot in the last like year, kind of who I've been talking to. And it was easier maybe in the beginning of this work to say, like, oh, if you have anxiety, OCD, addiction, PTSD, depression, like microdosing can help with that. And then even saying, if you're on unwanted prescriptions, SSRIs, stimulant, non-stimulant ADHD medication. I can help with that. Microdosing is a great tool to titrate off and stay off of those medications. And that felt really clear. But now I'm working more with business owners, some online, but I work with a lot of people who have brick and mortar businesses as well. And I'm really enjoying that and coming kind of more back to my lawyer roots of thinking about like leadership. Like I just had a client who had to fire someone, clients doing like yearly reviews and looking at pay increases for their employees, clients who are having contractual issues with difficult clients. And although I don't provide legal advice, there are just certain things I know from my legal background that really help me serve those clients. And then even thinking about my amazing cuties who are in salaried positions that have no desire to leave, but helping them work through like I have a nurse practitioner who was really a huge overgiver at work and like was not being compensated for all the extra things that she was doing. Or I work with a head chiropractor at the VA in LA. And for her it was a lot more like interpersonal stuff, right? So I think a lot of women present really successful from the outside, but inside like they're just kind of being eaten alive by their own like anxiety, looping thoughts, overgiving, people pleasing, lack of boundaries. And so being able to support them through the intentional and integrative use of microdosing and larger journeys, of course, when they come to my retreats, but to like have the inside match the outside and like and how it looks, right? And that's just been really beautiful. And for me personally, thinking about like I'm always entertaining the best case scenario. And my business has just shifted so much this year, where last year was a really hard year. I got really burnt out. And this year I've already made more in these few months than I
I
did in
saw you
all of last
say
year.
that.
Yeah.
I was like, "Bitch, how? What are we doing?"
Honestly, I stopped outsourcing my power to other people. I had gotten to a point where I was like, okay, now I'm ready to work with these sort of like people that I had put on a pedestal for a long time. Like I listened to their podcasts. I was like, they have it all figured out. And so I started working with those types of people and just being like, well, they say I need to post 4 times a day, or they say I need to
Thank
have this
you.
funnel. And I was like, what? I guess I'll do it. And it led me to being really burnt out, and I realized a lot of those people, like, you see their big monetary wins, but I really got the cold shower last year of just because you have a really high revenue does not mean your margin is good, does not mean you're actually taking home that money. Like, you can be spending a lot of money not in actual profit, and, that was a big awakening, and it was also, like, these people, like, their personal lives. Oh my god, like, I had a mentor who had given himself, like, a major medical condition from stress, like, no, they never had any successful romantic relationship, like, they didn't have friends, they weren't engaged with their community, they just worked all the time, and so I was like, "That is not the cost I want to bear," and so, instead of looking at what I want out of my business, I thought, "What do I want out of my life, and how can I then design my business around it?" I heard the author of Essentialism, James Clear, talk about this, how he wrote Essentialism. It is one of the best-selling books, and we don't see a lot of that in like the self-help category, right? But everyone's heard of the book Essentialism, and he did it having a family, having young kids, and it's because he prioritized his family and his health and all these other things above this business. And so I totally changed my approach. I did what worked for me, what felt good for me. And that's a little bit of a dangerous slope because I think you have to have enough like self-trust and actually self-follow
Yes.
through to, like, say that,
Mhm.
because like, some people are gonna hear that and they're gonna go too hard in their soft girl era. No, baby, I still
Yes.
fucking work. I want you to hear that, but I don't burn myself out, so it's not like I just sit on the couch and meditate all day. I'm out here working, but I'm doing the things that work for me in a way that works for me, and I can trust myself to do the things I say I'm gonna do, and not everyone has that yet.
Friend, you're speaking my language because okay, for one, I had to learn this last little bit. I don't need a guru. Like I really do have to just lean into my own understandings. And I know just as much as anybody else, especially about my own self and what I'm capable of. But there was some question in my mind about am I over prioritizing certain things in terms of like rest and whatever. For myself right now, I think I'm balancing it well because I do have a more limited capacity right now.
Mhm.
Like PTSD is very real, and so dealing with the symptoms of that all the time, it's a lot. And just my energy levels, they're not anywhere near what what I hope that they will return to one day. But I live very limited capacity. But I do have the capacity to do certain things, and I'm doing those things. So, like, it's weird because I'll have the busiest day, but it will just be like doing the shit I'm supposed to do. Like even just posting today, Instagram's being weird, so I could
Yeah.
only post one thing. But so I still have work to do with that. But it'll be like posting my episode shit and then clients and then oh, I've got to do some emails. Oh, I forgot I said I'd do this. And then before I know it's like 4 o'clock and don't I try not to work too much past that because I have a 12-year-old at home that I'm trying to be present for. And it's summertime. That's the thing. I feel constant fucking pressure. Like she needs to have a good summer and that's what you're supposed to do and whatever. And I'm trying to do my best with that, but without like putting too much pressure on myself. So that's a thing I'm dealing with because it's nonstop. And then just kind of looking at like, am I making aligned action in my daily life? Because I was sitting there literally questioning, like, am I a little too soft right now? And I don't think for me personally that I can be too soft right now because I have to take care of myself and I am doing stuff. It just, I don't know. sometimes I feel like there has to be something different that I should do to be able to advance myself, but I don't even know what that would be yet. So I'm still just kind of letting things unfold, but I don't know. I literally don't know what it is. I've learned from getting so connected with my body, my nervous system freaks the fuck out at everything. I mean, I will feel this full body zap internally every time something good happens. And I have to like find a safe way to hold this and we're good, we're good. But it took a long time of connecting with my body to even recognize that. So, anyways, that was so long-winded, but I feel you. I feel you because yeah, I think it is important to define what you want your life to look like, but sometimes I'm questioning like is it unreasonable, you know? Like how hard do you have to work? You know, like that's my question sometimes.
Okay. I really think like defining life and defining the goal that you want is important first because I think sometimes we think we want the big thing, but when we really sit down and think what is the number or whatever that we want, it's I don't think anything's impossible. I believe in a land of limitless possibility. I believe that everything is possible at all time. But I think I was going to ask you kind of as you were talking, like, do you have a self-reflective like journal practice at all? Because I that's where we're going to see some of these like either moments of alignment, misalignment, and adjustment along the way. And also really clearly defining the end goal because we can't get to where we want if we don't know where we're going.
I feel like I
Um,
have a pretty clearly defined end goal. I feel like it's gotten more defined because I was shooting for the stars before, and then as I've started to like really unravel, well, what am I actually wanting from that? I, I it's gotten a lot more compact in a good way. Like I feel like I have a very clear understanding of what I'm after here. So I do have that self-reflective practice. Probably not as much as I should. Probably
Yeah,
not.
I hear some themes of maybe like guilt or pressure, right? And so checking in like, I how did I show up like with my daughter today? Like what could I do tomorrow to help further the intention of giving her a great summer and also what do I need to show up in my business? Like what is my like bare minimum so that when I do this I can know like I've done enough for today, right? And just sort of always checking in and refining. And I'm curious, like, I don't know if we talked about this the last time, but have you ever microdosed before?
No, because I have a schizophrenic brother.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. We did talk about that. Okay, I was just gonna ask
Yeah,
what you were saying about the
I'm
nervous
terrified
system.
of it.
Yeah, no, and that makes sense. Contraindication.
I wish so much. Like, really, because, I mean, I really do believe wholeheartedly that I'm getting as close to what you could get of, more enlightenment and expansion without it, as close as you can get, without it, but it's fucking hard, and I would love to just see what it's all about, but, yeah, I'm terrified of it, and schizophrenia is so real. So I'm like, I'm not out of the woods yet. I'm 46. It could definitely still get me.
No, and I don't think you need it, right? Like Buddha was not taking shrooms and he's an enlightened being. So I don't think anyone needs it to reach anything. I just asked like specifically about what you were sharing about your nervous system because for me that was a huge
It
tool, but I,
helped that.
I hear you.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, I've been so grateful to be more aware of that because I had no idea that like so many nervous system responses that I have. I had no idea they were happening even after tons and tons of work. Like this, it really took grief for me to see a lot of things because I think my capacity changed so drastically so quickly, and also tr trying to make the most meaning out of this and learn the most, that I possibly can from it. I think it's just allowed me to see things that I couldn't have seen before because my life is much slower even
Mhm.
than before. I mean, it wasn't crazy before because it's been a couple of years that I've, been working for myself, but it's been slow enough and so introspective, I think, that now I feel everything that happens within my body, and I'm really grateful for that because it'll tell you so much, and I thought I understood that until I really understood it, and I'm sure in 6 months I'm gonna get an even deeper understanding because that's what all like, a new pattern will come around, but it's really an old pattern. I'm like, "Same lesson again," but I am really grateful that I can feel what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, the body really does keep the score, right? I'm reading that book right now, but,
Are
I think
you?
yeah, I love it. Well, it's really interesting too, like, he talks about, I was just reading a passage about, like, the limbic system, and that's something I've been saying for a long time, that microdosing or psychedelics can literally help you downregulate your nervous system because it takes blood flow away from the amygdala, but then hearing his explanation of what happens in the amygdala and that how it does promote a fight or flight response if the amygdala is activated in the limbic system, and I was like, it's just a lot of really good confirmation of, like, no, like, there's a lot of talk on the internet, right? Like, "Oh, calm your nervous system with this," and to me, it's a lot of fluff, but I can see that the work doing, like, scientifically does downregulate your nervous system, and it's, like, a
Yeah.
claim that I can make that is, like, scientifically proven, and that just it gives me a sense of, like, I really believe in what I'm doing, it truly works, it's not fluff, it's not woo, like, it's substance.
Yes, and you know what? I can super resonate with that because so much of I feel like there's this huge intersection between psychology and spirituality, and I always try to ground in psychology even when I'm being super woo. Um, not I think maybe for me too, because I like to know the why and because I'm super passionate about like we are in a human experience for a reason, and so if I have to choose which one gets priority, it's the human me, like, I'm constantly just trying to stay very grounded in my humanness because it's easy for me to be like, "Let's just be enlightened beings," like, it's a very good, yummy feeling to be in that just, like, "Woo," energy, but I'm a human first, so I can't bypass human feelings, and so much pressure was put in place just thinking like, well, enlightened beings, they don't get, triggered over stupid shit like this or whatever. So there was all this like labeling and the weight of that label because of what people who wear that label are supposed to do. And so now like just being like, well, a human can do whatever the fuck because you're capable of all things. So like your thoughts, I'm not gonna put all this pressure over my thoughts because I can't help what my brain has decided to think for a second, because for a minute, I'd be like, "Oh my god, I'm manifesting bad shit because I was just having some negative thoughts or whatever." So, I try to, like, really ground in a way where I can be like, "Here's some woo, but here's, like, an actual scientific principle of why." And I feel like I live in, like, the best of both worlds, and that's what I try to offer. I've even gotten really specific about the type of clients that I really wanna work with, like, if they don't have, like, any interest in spirituality, we're not aligned because I can't do just therapy with people, like, I've gotta tell you how I really believe things because I do all of my work from my personal experience, like, I'm always telling people, like, my credentials, I've had them a lot longer than I was an awoken being, so I would have given you some real shit therapy 5 years ago, but I'm giving you my experience, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, everything has its counterpart, right? Like manifestation, principles of manifestation are proven by quantum physics. And I think having that understanding, I mean, no right, no wrong, no good, no bad, but I like having the scientific understanding. I just think it strengthens your ability to speak about the concept in the more theoretical woo way. Um, and yeah, I just to me, like, that's the deepest level of understanding when you really understand something, you've mastered it. And I would rather like, that's my preference, right? Like, mastery.
Yes, yes. So what do you feel like you've mastered recently?
Mm. Well, we think about, like I love what you said. I wanna ground these principles of woo in psychology, so we think about, I'm really entertaining like best case scenarios lately. And when we think about what is that doing like at a neurological level, well, we're activating the reticular activating system, right? Like it's like the principle of, oh, I decided to get a green Honda Civic and now everywhere I just see green Honda Civics. I don't go down the path of like, oh, if I have a bad thought that I'm going to manifest a bad outcome. But I do think, if we're constantly, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? I was working with a client and she's just always waiting for their shoe to drop in dating. And like, "Oh, he's gonna show me a
Ooh.
red flag and he's gonna leave," and she's like, "Do you think I'm, like, creating these situations where guys are, suddenly then they turn into their own walking red flag?" And I was like, Babe, I don't think you're creating a situation, but what I think is subconsciously happening is your behavior shifts. Like, you're not meeting them in your best self because you're actually prejudging them at all times, and so you're creating and beneath the surface conflict that, yeah, then they are gonna show up in that way because it's on you too, right? I think one thing that I have mastered is a sense of radical responsibility. I don't think that I'm to blame like for my dad dying when I was 6, right? I didn't kill him. But I am responsible for how I show up right now, and I could use that as a crutch for the rest of my life, and I could cry victim and say, "Well, I can't have a healthy relationship because my dad left me when I was 6." Or I could be a fucking adult and say, "I'm going to move forward from this and take lessons." And so I encouraged her to, entertain the best case scenario because even though it's not something that's going to be apparent to her, her energy is going to shift how she reacts and interacts and moves forward with her adventures in dating. And if she's thinking, well, the best could happen, then it's an energy shift that we can't necessarily name or point to, but it does exist. So I don't think people are like creating these red flags out of nowhere, but the energy we're giving to something is influencing the outcome of it.
Yeah. So this is actually something I've become super passionate about is how we're making our outer world match our inner world. Like if you have this, you're going to do this, right?
Mhm.
And so I love the way you're putting this, entertaining the best case scenario. Like I'm going to steal that because I've been doing this lately where I will have like a essentially a negative projection about somebody else, like I'll be thinking of an interaction with someone and I'm like, well, they probably did that because, and I'm like, and just this morning, I was like, well, why are you assuming that? Like, what would is because that's what you would do? Like, what? Why are you assuming that? And even just like learning how to not I'll put it this way for lack of a better phrase, but like, take things the wrong way,
Mhm.
especially in text, like how you can perceive something that someone said in several different ways just based off the way you're feeling in the moment. And so I will look at something and be like, I'm sure they didn't mean that shitty. So since I'm deciding that right now, how did they mean it? Like not even like what are they trying to communicate here? Cause I'm not getting it, but I'm sure it's not shitty. So it's entertaining the best case because before though, ooh, I was so fucking defensive all the time, just so defensive, and ugh, didn't even realize it. Like I'm actually so embarrassed. So every time I have to admit something like that out loud, I hate it. But that's why I do it so that we can all just see we're all humans doing dumb shit. But I was so defensive and so ready to proclaim whatever it was I was defending, just all the time. And so now just looking at people as their best selves, like I I feel like that can be a dangerous place. Some people I know have a trouble where, man, their little soul only sees the soul of someone else and like everything they could be and whatever. And I'm like, honey, we can't do that to ourselves. But I think you can borrow some of that and see people for their intentions. Now, I think we have to take care of ourselves, and regardless of intention there's impact. So if somebody is being toxic, it's not our job to analyze or pathologize. I'm not saying this to you, I'm saying this to my audience. But like we can't fix people, but we can fix how we are entering situations. And I am absolutely seeing how I took the worst perspective on people often, like assumed the very worst and now really working on shifting that because I do think at our core we are all so good. And I do want to see more of that because you know why? Because I trust myself to have discernment and that I don't have to be so afraid of humans letting me down or betraying me or what if I trust this person and they fucked me over? Okay, that's not going to kill me. Like, but I used to be really afraid that it would.
Have you ever read the Four Agreements?
No, but I just recently heard about it. I don't remember a ton, but I just heard
Well,
about
that's
it.
one of the agreements, essentially well, actually 2 of them. It's never to make an assumption, right? Like, assumptions, I know that's so cheesy, it didn't come from this book, but, like, they make an ass out of you and me, and that's true. And it's not to take things personally. Everything that we do is a reflection of us. It's not a reflection of the person we're interacting with. You know, if someone gets cheated on, that's the cheater shit. It's not that the woman
Yes.
or the man, whoever got cheated on, wasn't worthy or hot enough or smart enough or good enough or whatever. It's the person and their shit that caused them to cheat, and so remembering that, and I think a lot of what you said is reflected there. I can't remember. It's don't take anything personally, don't make assumptions, always do your best. And then there's one more I can't think of, but it's a really great book. I've read it several times. I just always come back to it and it really changes the way I move about the world.
Yes. Ooh, I like that. Is it on audio, do you know?
I actually think it's on Spotify, like the audiobooks on Spotify. I have to physically if I'm not like reading, I'm not listening. So I can't do the audiobook. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it's on there. I
Yeah,
don't know
that
what
sounds awesome. And also I'm like, "Oh my god, I'm so smart that I came up with a couple of those without even knowing that they were, these big principles." But that's like when I realized and it's so stupid how I even started thinking about this, but you know who Theo Vaughn is?
Yep.
Okay, so I heard him talking to shit, I wish I could remember, but he was like, "Yeah, and do you think sometimes that you're trying to make your outsides match your insides?" And I started thinking about that and I was like, "No, but that is what we do with our subconscious patterns is we have a story that we wrote a long time ago and we're going to make sure it plays out in every interaction because that's what we feel safe doing." So I started testing it and really questioning well, if this is my experience right here, what am I thinking? What do I believe that is causing me to continue to act in a way that will continue to get this experience? And I don't want anyone to say, I'm blaming you if your life is shit. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying there is always hope because we can get into this really nasty habit of like feeling so stuck in our circumstances. And there are some really fucking awful circumstances for people right now. So I want to tread that line very lightly because I don't want anyone to feel like I'm dismissing all the atrocities that are happening. And I still believe there's always hope and that there's always an aligned action that you can take little by little by little that can get you out of your circumstances if you believe you're enough, if you believe you're deserving, if you believe you're worthy. And I think that's the piece that most of us are missing is that we do not believe those things about ourselves. For myself, religion programmed me to believe I would never be worthy or deserving. So overcoming that and understanding when things go wrong, I'm not fucking being punished. And when things go right, I'm not being rewarded. I'm just creating a different reality. You know what I mean? And I that was the hard part for me was stop looking at things as a punishment versus reward and just looking at my role in like, oh man, I did a great job with manifesting that. Shit like that instead of, oh, some malefic force or benefic, however you want to see it, is punishing or rewarding me. And that has taken a very long time to overcome.
Yeah, I really like what you said about, what's my role in this. I think that that's why I love the attitude of radical responsibility so much because some people, and this isn't like a judgment, but I've seen plenty of people who really do like to be in victim because that means they
Mhm.
don't have to take any ownership over what's going on in their life. And I say this to my clients all the time. And if this really rubs you the wrong way, we are definitely not meant to work together. But like after they vent about something, which I do feel is an important part of the process, it's what role did you play in this? And I don't mean something like what happened to you, like a child dying or getting sideswiped
Right.
at a stop sign, right? But I mean something like a relationship. If you're in a relationship and you didn't like how it was going, everyone plays a role in every unsatisfying dynamic that they're a part of. So
Yes.
how did you co-create the situation, right? And being able to look at that and learn from that, because it exists everywhere. Like, you're contributing to your negative situation at work, you're contributing to your negative relationship with your body or with your mom, or like, and no one, it takes two to tango in every single situation.
Every single
Aside from
one.
those situations that, a sudden death or a death in general, like, unless you're killing someone, you didn't
Sure.
play a part in that dynamic, right? Or those freak accidents on the interstate where you're doing everything right, hands at 10 on 2, you're not looking at your phone, and a truck just comes in and gets you. But we really gotta take more responsibility over things because we love to say, "Well, they were toxic." It's like, "And you stayed." So
Honey, exactly. They probably are toxic, I'll give you that, but you were too. If this was a relationship that even felt the remotest of safety in the beginning, then you were toxic too, because you can't be with someone that's not marrying you. Period. Like that's my belief. And so what dynamic in you is at play in those toxic relationships? I'm not blaming people for getting abused. I hate that we have to like make all these fucking disclaimers, but I'm talking about just relationship dynamics because man, realizing that I was actually the toxic one in most of mine, that was crazy. I mean, I also attracted a lot of toxicity because that's what felt safe to me and I loved chaos. And I only liked to gossip and bitch. So, I was really good at those things. And so the people who wanted to be in my energy were people who also liked to gossip and bitch and do chaotic crazy shit. And so ta-da! Weird, all my relationships were pretty toxic. Like, but when I realized how much I was victimizing myself, truly just because I didn't love myself and didn't deem myself as worthy or valuable as a human, that was the way I entered every dynamic was how can I try to feel more, worthy? Well, you're going to overgive, you're going to overfunction, you're going to take some shit you shouldn't take, you're gonna give some shit you shouldn't give. There's just all that stuff at play. So I absolutely agree that you have to figure out your role. And I mean, one more disclaimer. We're not talking about the big shit. We're talking about relationship dynamics. So that's the last thing I'm gonna say about that. If it's offensive, you're just misunderstanding us, and that's that.
yeah, again, I agree. Like, I'm not saying if you're getting abused, like, that you're, at fault for someone hitting you or emotionally manipulating or in any way. But I think for 99% of what goes on, it's like, well, they're the problem. It could be as simple as an issue with a friend, you're right. Like, well, my friend's not being a good friend. Baby, like, you're also not showing up 100% in this case. I guarantee it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That was my biggest gift to myself was realizing that. Okay, well, we both have calls after this, so remind us where we can find you.
Yeah, well, come chat with me at Julie Cyvonne on Instagram, JulieCyvonne. Same thing for my website, juliecyvonne.com. But any questions, anything about psychedelics, I answer my own DMs, so you can totally pop in there and I'm happy to chat with you.
And your Instagram is very interesting. So I will be linking all of that in the show notes, and I will link our last episode in the show notes too. So make sure you guys check that out. But thank you so much for being here today. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me, Melissa. I love
Yeah.
chatting with you. And, if you're ever in Kansas City again, let me know.
I mean, I will. Hold on, I'm going to press stop. Thanks for coming to Emotionally Unavailable. If you haven't already, like, subscribe, and share.